Okay, I'll tell you when we're live. Give me if like it's going to be live in a few moments.
Yo,
Make sure your phones are on silent so we don't have any surprises.
1 second.
It's going live any minute now, any second.
Wait, can I? If I put my phone on,
Going
what is
live
it?
right now.
No, I'm saying airplane mode. I understand.
Okay, we should be live right now. We are live. Are we live?
Yes, it looks it is. We are, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I just can't find the screen. Well, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Tasting in
Yes.
Torah. We are live.
Yes.
So welcome to Zombie
Yes. You like
Nation.
when we lived in Crown Heights, you used to like to do that, but I'm not going to mention why.
Yes, if it's basically what happens when you take a Zamboni and a nation and you put them together. You're gonna get killed by a Zamboni.
Where's that from?
That's from Deadpool.
From where?
Deadpool.
Oh, Deadpool. I didn't understand what you said. Okay. What is that beeping noise? Oh, there's an Amazon Prime truck outside my house. Well, at least they can't loot Amazon. That's what I was saying.
I mean, they did loot some Amazon trucks.
Yeah.
Did you see that video about Amazon Go, where you just like Amazon Shop, where you just walk into and you don't have to pay, and then it just showed the video. It's an old Amazon thing. They said like Amazon Shop or Amazon Go, you just walk in and walk out, and it charges your credit card, right? So you just see people looting on the backdrop of that commercial.
I saw that. Yeah.
Ivan Rahav Meir played that video on national television.
No, the thing is, Israelis, they love to laugh at, like, Israelis don't have a different understanding of, like, they don't have the PC culture about humor, so they just like to laugh at it. They like observing America from kind of the outside, what I noticed, and seeing kind of like the really stupid things of what's going on.
So this week kicked off with an experience, this event kicked off with an experience that you have been having for years, which for me was new. We're somebody who I am friendly with, almost went out with once. She's now married, lives in Jerusalem. And I just had a conversation with her about something that's going on now. This whole trope of systemic racism, right? And you have case and case and case again of prominent Black Americans who are telling you this is BS. It's not true. You're attacking and when you're talking about poverty and all the other things, you are attacking a symptom and not a problem. So that's the conversation I'm having, right? You can agree, you can disagree, fine.
It's kind of like taking something that used to be called Gamla, and then when you take it to America, it's called Gilgal. It's the same thing, different name.
Which takes you from the battle of the Great Revolt with the Romans in Gamla to the mountain of circumcised of foreskins called Gilgal.
Exactly. You're just foreskinning, truncating everything.
Yes, anyway. Talk about foresight. So the thing that happened, I started having a conversation, and I said to her, like, can we just agree to disagree, because this is not really going anywhere. I'm going to wait till the storm passes, and then we can talk. Yeah. And I didn't even realize when I said that to her, because it was just a slew of correspondence and links that she sent me and links that I sent her and articles that I sent her and articles that she, fine. And she said to me something like that. She was talking about our tasting in Torah, right? So last week when you were in the airport and I was having a beer or whiskey, I was having the Golan Heights whiskey. Yeah. And I wrote on Facebook the day after that I'm just taking a break because I just got sick. I really got sick in the stomach from watching what's happening to America and watching people that I know on Facebook post the most outrageous things, right? And I know that you can't engage with these people. And I know that if I will engage with them, it's going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just going to go, so why bother, right? So why bother, right? If I meet them in person, we can maybe talk about it, but there's no point on right? So, so she wrote to me, oh, like, what are you doing for the situation? Like, you can just sit there and drink with your friend, priorities, right? And you can just like tune out the TV. You don't have to watch the TV. I'm so like, and as I was beginning to write a response to that, like, that's such a nasty thing to say. She blocked me. I can't respond. Yeah. She blocked me.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, man. I'm going to preface what I'm going to tell you with this is something that I told my sister today. I was in the club scene, and I think I mentioned this before. I was in the club scene in New York from the year 2000 or 1999 until basically 2008, or just before I made Aliyah. And I used to be on this message board. I'm not going to say the name. And it was basically myself, another friend of mine, and a couple other guys who were like Israeli or Jewish or whatever. Do I have your attention, by the way? I'm just
Yes, you do. I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm looking to see. I'm looking to see if there's comments on the video.
Oh, I mean,
there's no
we can talk
comments.
about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically on this message board there were conversation. There was like certain sections you can talk about politics and economics and all these kind of things. By the way, the screen just went blank. I'm not sure why.
Whose screen?
The R live. I'm not really sure why, unless it's my computer. Just 1 second. Sorry.
It seems. We're live. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah, I'm just making sure on the page. Anyway, so we used to talk about things like economics and foreign policy and all these kind of things, Middle East, and basically there was like myself, my friend, and two other guys versus like you're talking about hundreds of people on that message board, and if we so much as expressed an opinion that was different or an opinion based on facts, let's say we argue about the Middle East and about Israel, about the wars that happened and about the conflict. It's interesting. There was a lot of actually like Middle Easterners, like Arab speakers in the DJ world in New York. You're talking about producers, DJs, what is it called? Promoters, club, the people that ran the parties. But it was like Arabs and Armenians and Europeans and Israelis. So it's kind of like people got along. The unifying factor was music, but then it's like when you get into politics, that's when trouble, issues start.
Right.
So a lot of these guys were just like coming from their vantage point of being, Egyptian, Moroccan, Syrian, whatever they were. They're no matter what you tell them, no matter what fact you give them, they're always going to protect their own. They're always going to stand up, even if it's a lie, a blatant lie. They're always going to protect their own. Not only that, they're going to insult you to high heaven, and also the white lefty kids would jump in and insult us to high heaven. So I basically withstood like 10 years of this, like us arguing with these kids and us just getting like 90% of the responses were just ad hominem attacks. They weren't actual facts. Or if they were arguments, they were like, people were saying a certain, like a buzzword or like a sentence, and then adding to that sentence some kind of ad hominem attack sentence. That was usually the tactic. And then they would run away, and then they would say, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to this, I don't want to, talk about this issue. It got to a point where we a couple of us got like banned or put in timeout for every single so often. That's why when I see this stuff on Facebook, like when Facebook puts people in timeout and they ban you and they this and they that, or Twitter, it's not a surprise to me because this is stuff that happened to me on my message board. A person who disagrees with the klal is like a rabble rouser, even if I'm right and everybody else is wrong. And that's it. And you're gone. It's like it's literally groupthink fascism. So I dealt with that for about 10 years. And the thing is, when I was dealing with it, these people at that time, this is before Obama got elected, their views and their opinions, they were what's called the fringe of society. Even the Democratic Party, the majority of the Democrats at that time were, it was more like a center-left party. It wasn't like what it is today, right? And so when I would see these people in person, they were like, "Oh, hi, it's me. Hi, Greg. Whatever. It's just jokes. It's just friendly banter." They would like justify their behavior.
What was that noise?
Oh, sorry. I was just picking up the glass.
It was just friendly banter. I'm just hearing feedback or something. It's weird.
Oh, that's my chair. It's making a little stickle noise when I go back.
No. It sounded like feedback.
Oh.
In a friendly fashion, I didn't really mean to insult you and call you the evil of all the world and personally insult you without engaging with their ideas. Yeah. You know that I didn't really mean it.
Yeah. Listen, and the people that I actually respected at that time were the people who were the same to me in person, aka who basically didn't talk to me in person as they were behind the screen. The people who were fake, I was just like, yo, I'm one of these people I pick up on when somebody's fake with me, and I just stayed away from them like the plague. So the thing is, like at that time, you could at least engage with these people on some level, but then it got to a point where like, you have this new generation, like you and I were in our late 30s, and we engage with these kids who are like mid 20s, basically anybody 25 and under, right? you know, it's like they used to have that phrase in the 60s, don't trust anybody over 40. It's like I'm at the point where it's like I can't talk to anybody under 25 because it's just like I feel like my brain is about to just melt.
It's like, you know, that video, that famous meme about people worrying about a zombie apocalypse, and then you see everybody on their phones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
speaking of Zombie Nation,
Yeah.
it's just people are behind the phone. You know, all the bullying, cyberbullying that happens. A lot of it's because, first of all, there's a complete what's the word? Deterioration of social skills.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
on their phone.
That's a main.
And then you feel brave behind your screen because you don't have to engage with the person, to just destroy their life, to cancel them, to slander them, to malign them, to bully them because I'm on my phone. Who cares? I mean, you don't. It's like what was that? Sacha Baron Cohen in the Grimsby Brothers, when he shoots the guy. What does he call him? Russian Ben Affleck. Ukrainian. He shoots the guy. He's like, "Wow, this is so. When you stop shooting things, you just shoot because it's so easy behind a gun.
Yeah.
You don't have to like go over and stab the person with a knife, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you could just do that to people without the social skill. It just reached a point where it's so prevalent, this culture of attacking people behind a screen, that people have become so brazen.
Yep. Yep.
So
here's the
zombies,
question:
communication is dead.
In the last podcast, we were talking about the whole thing of I think you mentioned the whole thing about Twitter in terms of the whole what your Rebbe said about Twitter, about the whole thing with how does a person get how does a person get tzaras?
Yeah, to recap, that is the tzarat, the sort of miraculous sort of leprosy that people would get for maligning. Part of the purification process and the atonement process involved bringing an offering of a bird.
Yeah.
Why bird? Two birds. Why? Because birds chirp, 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 chirp. They tweet.
Yeah.
And this person was tweeting. And so this Tweety Boyd has to bring an offering of a Tweety Boyd because of his tweeting. Yeah. And then the app that's called Twitter, with obviously was the consciousness that birds just chirp, 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 and tweet. It's just such poetic irony, right? That's the name of that app, in which we have a president in the United States who has like he's the tweeter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, like, it's almost, you say it's just irony. I think it's an actual tikkun. I think it's an actual what I call reverse tikkun, so to speak. It's something that's instructive of what's going on when you have this basically 140 character society. Like you said, people are just walking around and they could just write a short sentence to you in response. They don't actually have to write a whole what's called long form, thought out idea.
Short message syntax.
Yeah, and here, Daniel, Rabbi Daniel Katz, the guy who has he's in Jerusalem. He has something called the Elevation Seminar. So he's been writing a lot about how people are communicating today about this whole thing. And he wrote the following. He quoted somebody else from a musician, an Israeli musician. He says, "Truth takes listening, and listening takes time. In a world where there's no time to listen, how can we expect to understand the truth? People are just they don't have the time. They just, I even have friends who are like, not necessarily lefty or whatever. They're just kind of like, give me the cliff notes. Can you tell me that in short? I'm like, no, you have to listen to everything I just said, because that you need to get the context of what I just said. I can't give you cliff notes, and it's like a cliff note society. Everybody wants snap, 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 like instant gratification, instant this. And
I'll hear you talking while I multitask and I tweet this and I post that.
And I'm wondering,
what were you saying?
Yeah, and I'm wondering if you're. Yeah. So here's my question, then: Is there anything in the Torah or in Jewish philosophy that speaks about, or that spoke about days like this that would arrive, or is there any precedent or any situation or any story that we have? Maybe, I could think of like the Sodom and Gomorrah, anything in that space or in that theme that speaks to the days that we're living in today.
I can say, in contrast, the days. Who was the worst king of the kingdom of Israel? Who was the worst king?
What was it? The guy that came after
Eliyahu Hanavi.
Eliyahu.
The guy who came after Eliyahu Hanavi, about Elijah the prophet.
Eliyahu.
Is it Moby Dick, Captain Ahab? Ahab, who married Isabel.
Yeah, Jezebel.
Jezebel. He had one of the longest reigns and most successful territorial control of the kingdom of Israel, which in general was superior in number and power to the kingdom of Judah, which is, Jerusalem, and, it was very small. And Chazal say, the rabbis say, that the reason he was so successful is because there were no tattletales and no snitches in that society. Everybody supported each other.
Snitches got stitches.
The worst kings, right? Yep. Morally, religiously, he was the worst kings. But in terms of the unity, nobody snitched on anyone.
Yeah.
It's an incredible thought, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I would say that's in contrast with what we are going through today, where we can't cover up we can't protect our own. Like, you hate our president so much that you would rather see the country die than actually take 5 minutes to hear what he actually said.
Yeah. Or you would rather take, one snippet of what he said in a bigger picture.
But you realize that somebody, the person who selected that snippet, is culpable because they know.
Of course.
They know.
Of course they know. It's crazy. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was like a pro-Israel person. I guess she's like 23, 24. And, a friend of mine posted that Candace Owens video that's been going around. It's already got 50 million hits.
I tried sending that. By the way, I sent it to my grandmother. She sent it to the rabbi of the congregation in her community, who sent it to like the board of Orthodox rabbis of something. And they said I sent it to her.
Wow.
So I don't know what happened with it, but he really liked it.
I'll tell you something about the video. The video, I think the one mistake Candace Owens is making is her delivery. It's not her content. It's her, if she at least presented herself or prefaced or gave kind of disclaimer that she's sensitive to what happened to this guy. And she did mention it, but she glossed over it a little bit. So that's where she lost people, because her overall message was that the problem is her overall message was very, very, very powerful. So my friend posted that video, and this girl chimes in. She's like a pro-Israel girl. She chimes in. She's like 23, 24. She's like, you're posting something from an anti-Semite and blah, 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 blah. And why is she so listen, why is she an anti-Semite? Because she was once asked, somebody asked her, some media guy asked her about white nationalism or nationalism. And she basically said that Hitler was actually not a nationalist. Why? Because nationalists care about their people. They don't kill their own people, right? Or even Stalin, same thing. That's
a very famous piece that was taken out of context. I actually bothered to find the video.
So then she goes to Congress. She testified in Congress about this with like the whole PragerU thing, and she told the congressman, "You're misconstruing my words."
Right.
And so I wrote that to this girl, and I kind of also made a mistake, and I came to this girl and I got upset, and I was like, "Can I ask you something? Like, is there any original thought or that doesn't come from a college professor?" I asked her this. I was like, or some kind of blog that you wrote. And she just like responded with like, she went to the next level. She was just like, you're some conspiracy theorist who's against education and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what conspiracy theory did I push? And then I'm like, listen, all things aside, can you give me an example of how Candace Owens is actually anti-Semitic? She works for a conservadox or whatever he is, Dennis Prager, conservative, Orthodox guy, PragerU. Yeah. She's just like, don't confuse my making fun of you. She like made fun of me for wanting to actually engage in conversation with you. Goodbye, don't talk to me. And I'm like, I'm asking you a question. Can we have a conversation? She's like, and then she writes again, I said, don't talk to me. And then what does she do? She erases her original post in the comments, which basically rendered the entire thread to disappear. And I wrote to my friend, I'm like, dude, did you see what happened there? She literally just like insulted me. I don't want to talk to you, ran away.
Sorry, I'm being called to shower because Shabbat is coming. So cancel culture.
Yeah, man. Exactly. She just canceled me on the spot.
Right. And cancel culture, if you think about it, remember in George Orwell's 1984, which was written in 1948, right?
Yeah.
1984, the whole work of the guy, I forgot his name, but the main character, the hero of the story.
Yeah.
With its tragic ending. By the way, if you haven't not read 1984, read it.
Yeah.
You must.
It's crazy.
Do it now. So
you're living in it.
no, so the whole issue in 1984 is this guy's job, his government job, is to cancel everybody that the government deemed unworthy, to erase them from all the newspapers, from all the publications. So he did not exist. And the whole journey started when he had that one image, that one picture, which is a remaining proof of a particular event that happened that he knew was erased. And then he threw it out.
Yeah.
And at the final meeting where we're in room 101, where I'm not going to spoil the story, but when he encounters the main person from the socialist, the English Socialist Party, the ANCSOC, English Socialist Party.
Yeah.
One of the arguments that the guy says is like, he pulls up the picture that this guy himself found as proof that the government was erasing stuff. And he's saying, if the party decides that it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. We can make you levitate. We can defy gravity. If the party decides there's no gravity, there is no gravity, because all the books will say that happened. Yeah. It's cancel culture.
Yeah, see, I'm just reading it. Yeah, it says.
And Kathy, I'm reading. Catherine Cassie or Chassie
saying,
Smith,
Winston Smith is a member of the middle class outer party working in the Ministry of Truth. He rewrites historical records.
The Ministry of Truth. Yes, the Ministry of Truth. What irony!
It reminds me of Iran, where it says that they rewrite historical records to conform to state's ever-changing version of history. It's like I was watching on Twitter. Javad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran. He's been writing a lot of this agitational propaganda. He's like, America needs to figure out its issues with, brutalizing its people. And all these people you see in the comments, they're like, that's coming from you. Dude, they show videos of Iran.
You know that question, did you stop hitting your wife?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way out of that question. It's a bad question.
Yeah,
and one more thing, I was watching a debate with Jordan Peterson and Stephen Fry and another two people, a famous guy, Michael something, I remember his name, and the debate was about political correctness. And I urge you to look for this. It's about Jordan Peterson debating political correctness. And one of the things that Stephen Fry said is that the whole concept of forcing me to speak politically correctly is the concept in 1984 of newspeak, in which you change the words to change the person's worldview.
Yeah. It's incredible. This is what's happening.
Yeah. I really would love to continue. I have to run. Shabbat in 15 minutes. Yeah. So to all you looking, I hope that that something comes out of this. I see. Yeah, we all very much admire Jordan Peterson. He's a beacon of light in these very dark times. And you know what happens? You're either preaching to the choir or talking to a wall. And I just hope that.
Do you know that the people that are? Do you know what I find? The people that I get the most value from these conversations and these podcasts, what I find is people who know that something is wrong, but they don't know how to verbalize it or enunciate. Like, I've had friends message me, they're like, Tzvi, and these are people who used to, like, say, vote Democrat or used to have certain kind of different ideas from whatever it is, right? And they're like, but Tzvi, I know that something is wrong. I know that something is wrong either with the party that I used to vote for or the side that I used to be on, or this or that, or just the media, or everything that's going on, or there's a lot of Jews who are considering Aliyah, they're like, they know something's wrong in America. And they're messaging me and they're just like, hold on one second. And they're just like, what do I say? Like, what, can you give me some like ideas? Can you give me some lashon? And these are really the people that this is like really our audience, not the choir necessarily, not the echo chamber, obviously not the wall, like Pink Floyd's The Wall, what's his name? Roger Waters, who hates us anyway. But the people who know something is wrong, but don't have the lashon to enunciate it, that don't have the lexicon to verbalize what's going on, what it is that they feel, but they can't put their finger on it. So, yeah. So I guess this is the value that we hold. To answer that girl's question, the one that attacked you, this is what we're doing. Okay. We're not marching with this group or that group or the other, because at the end of the day, those groups that a lot of our friends are marching with, like I tell them, be very, very careful, guys, because you know what? The crocodile is going to eat you last. And these guys are the crocodile. You know what I'm saying? It's going to start eating everyone else, and then you are going to get, I saw a placard somebody posted. I think it was one of these campuses, Ivy League campus. It says statistics of all the Jewish kids who are at Harvard, Yale, Columbia, all this stuff, and it says Jewish privilege and white privilege, and it says on the bottom, it's not racist or anti-Semitic to say this. You have to admit that this is a fact. Like they're virtue signaling at you. This is what you have to think. This is a fact, and it's a problem, and it must be remedied. Right? We have to go back to the days where Jews are not allowed to go to Ivy League universities. So, like, that's where we're at, man.
You know what? I'm gonna finish with this.
Yeah.
Idiocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Idiocracy was a brilliant movie. It became a cult classic, right? Where this soldier was frozen in time, and everything went bad. He wakes up 500 years in the future in a state which is idiocracy, because the people who are really smart don't
procreate. Yeah.
Procreate. Thank you, and they don't. And the people who aren't so smart, over procreate. And so you end up having a population which is mostly dumb. Mm-hmm. Eventually, down the line, after 500 years, they become really dumb.
Diluted. Yeah.
I'm comparing that to affirmative action, where in affirmative action, you are saying, instead of, it's what's called the crime of low expectation, the hypocrisy of low expectation.
It's called it's actually the racism of low expectations.
The racism of low expectation.
The bigotry.
The bigotry, thank you. Because I don't expect so much of certain people, I'm going to lower the bar so that you can get in. And what happens when this is specifically, there's studies that showed this happen. Yeah. When there was a lower number of Black Americans who voluntarily apply to certain colleges, because when you get to a certain level, you give up because you don't have the skill that it takes. Why? Because we lowered the bar to artificially let you in, instead of it being by merit.
Yep.
So encourage people, let's work on the education. And look, all of these, ESPN, all of these people made it there because they're not lazy, because they work hard. Yep. Let's instill that attitude. Let's work hard. Get off your bum, work hard. Don't expect somebody to fix your problem. And then one day in 100 years, people are going to say Black privilege.
Yeah.
I'm seriously, so much potential, so much creativity. Yeah. Like it's amazing what comes out of that community, right? Yeah. So push people to give that to the world instead of saying, "Oh, we're such poor people. We need you to take care of our problems." Like my cousin, I was talking to my cousin about this today. He's saying, let's say hypothetically, we would all acknowledge, yes, systemic racism is a thing. What do you propose we do about it? Yeah. You white people have to fix it.
Yeah.
What's this? Okay, how are we going to help you? Well, you're going to have to put in the work to raise yourselves up. There's no way around it. You have to put in the work. So put in the work.
There was a movie made in 1986, which would never be made today. It's called Soul Man. It's about a white guy who finds out that you can get into a Ivy League university. He finds out about affirmative action. So what does he do? He paints his face black and he pretends like he's black. And it's a whole movie. Like it would never be made today, ever. It's actually quite funny.
The opposite of Eddie Murphy dressing up to a white person.
Exactly, or just every other movie where the people dress up as opposite, or the white chicks, whatever, with the Wayans brothers.
Well, we do hope we do hope that the insanity has reached such a point that it has to collapse from its sheer unsustainability. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. It has to fall.
And then the silent majority will just be like, okay, you know what? It's enough out of you guys. And they just come out and like our friend said, basically this stuff may just give Trump this overwhelming victory to the point of like the silent majority is just going to come out in droves and be like, we're not going to stand for this stuff.
Okay. I need to run. Shabbat's in 10 minutes. Shabbat
right,
shalom.
Shabbat
Hope
shalom.
and peace.
Yeah. Hope and peace.